everyone. I'm Samantha Tucci. Thanks for joining me today for our webinar explaining loss recommendations for community associations. Loss recs have really become a significant issue in recent years for several reasons. Our session is being recorded, and we will send out a copy of the presentation later today. One attendee will be randomly chosen to win a $50 Amazon gift card, who we will also contact later today. The Q&A is open. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. I'll respond to them at the end of the presentation. Let's get started. What are loss recommendations? Insurance is all about managing and mitigating risk. When insurance is bound, whether renewing with your current carrier or moving coverage to a new carrier, you're essentially entering a partnership with them, where they agree to cover the financial risks of damage or loss in exchange for a premium. To accurately assess the risk they're going to take on, the insurance companies will likely want to conduct an inspection of your building and surrounding property. Carriers want to fully understand the condition of everything they have agreed to insure. This allows them to evaluate the likelihood of potential claims. For example, a building with an outdated fuse box will be more prone to fire, while a property with overhanging trees could increase the risk of wind damage. Identifying these hazards helps the insurer understand whether certain improvements or repairs should be made to reduce the likelihood of a loss. After an inspection, insurance carriers often provide a list of loss recommendations. Loss recommendations are just that, recommendations to reduce the possibility of a loss or claim or reduce the severity of those that do occur. Though they are referred to as recommendations, loss recommendations have become more like requirements these days. In the current insurance market, they've become mandatory and usually come with a deadline for completion. Generally, if these requirements aren't complied with in a timely fashion, insurance is canceled or non-renewed. It's important to note that an insurance company can make recommendations that are not required by city or other codes. It is their option. Many insureds are grandfathered in, meaning if the building was being built now, they would have to build it complying with current ordinance laws. But since the building was built previously, they do not have to comply. Though a building may not be required by code to make additions or renovations, if the insurance carrier decides that something does not meet their guidelines, they can require it to provide coverage. The following are the most common loss recommendations we see and how to solve them. AC brackets. All carriers have been cracking down on the installation of window air conditioner units. If the inspector notices a window unit has been installed without proper bracing and mounting, the carrier will likely require that the association hire a qualified contractor to install support brackets for each window AC. The solution: support brackets are a must. They can be purchased at most hardware stores and online retailers. Photo proof that the brackets have been installed will satisfy the recommendation. Boards and property managers should establish guidelines for safe air conditioner installation for residents. If you decide that only designated professionals can install air conditioners, make sure that your residents do not attempt installation on their own. This should help ensure that all units are set up with brackets properly and safely. If residents are permitted to install their ACs themselves, all rules and regulations must be clearly communicated and documented. What if the AC unit is permanently installed and secured into the internal framing of the building? That is perfectly acceptable, but photos from the inside of the unit showing the AC unit is secured to the frame will need to be sent to the carrier. Barbecue grill safety. Using grills inside buildings or on rooftops, terraces, and balconies should be strictly prohibited. While some grills may be allowed under state regulation, insurance carriers are adamant that any type of grill must be at least 10 feet away from anything that can easily catch fire. This includes the building itself, as well as any deck surfaces or furniture. We have never seen any exceptions. The solution: a formal memo detailing the rules for grills on the premise should be sent to all residents and owners on the association's letterhead. Management should then send a copy of the memo to the insurance carrier. If a specific balcony or area is noted in the carrier recommendation letter, photos must be taken and submitted to the carrier showing that the grill has been removed from that area. Safety tips: replace any scratched or damaged connectors, which can eventually cause a gas leak. Install fire extinguishers in or near barbecue areas and ensure they are easily accessible. Clean and inspect all grills each year when warm weather arrives to ensure that they are still in good working condition and safe for use. Enforce clear rules and regulations for barbecue usage within the community and educate residents on these rules through signage, newsletters, and/or community meetings. Always store gas cylinders upright and vertically outdoors. Do not use, store, or transport your cylinder where it may be exposed to high temperatures. Never store cylinders under or near the grill. Storing tanks inside the building is prohibited. Sidewalk, parking lot, curbs, tree pit repair. This is all for concrete work. Repairing cracked or broken sidewalks is the most common loss recommendation we see for community associations. Any kind of broken pavement can easily lead to trip and fall claims with adverse liability for the association. Check all sidewalks, walkways, and parking lots, and remember to keep an eye out for any uneven or lifting concrete near trees. Pavement can easily become damaged over winter months with cold temperatures and snow removal, and associations see increased activity once the weather gets warm again. It's important to be mindful of this year-round to best protect your association and residents. The solution: a licensed and insured contractor must be hired and repair all defects in the concrete to a smooth finish. Once the work has been completed, photos must be taken and sent to the carrier for further review. The photos should be taken from the same angle that the inspector took their photos in the original loss recommendation letter. The carrier will need these photos to determine if compliance has been met and will not close their file until full compliance is accepted. What if the concrete in question is the responsibility of the city or local township? Then a request must be sent to the city documenting the defects in the concrete. A copy of the request must be sent to the carrier so they can add it to their file. E-bikes and lithium-ion batteries in buildings. E-bikes and their batteries have been a more recent issue for community associations as they have proven to be a substantial fire hazard. Just one fire caused by an e-bike can cost a building hundreds of thousands in insurance premium, and eventually insurance companies may not insure the properties that allow them at all. The solution: the safest form of protection is to prohibit e-bikes from the premise. A formal memo should be sent to all residents and owners with a copy provided to the carrier. If you do allow e-bikes, all residents should be made aware of the potential hazards and building rules and regulations. The building should provide a storage area, such as a basement, with concrete walls and floors where residents can keep the e-bikes. E-bikes should never be allowed in the building's units or common areas. Do not store any combustible materials other than e-bikes in the storage room. The building should provide a fireproof cabinet where the batteries can be safely charged. Rechargeable batteries should only be disposed of at a battery disposal center, never thrown in garbage bags or bins. In case of an emergency, only use a fire extinguisher that is NTA 8133 certified. One should be purchased and kept nearby. Common fire extinguishers do not extinguish lithium-ion fires. Electrical upgrades, fuses, aluminum wiring, and Federal Pacific stab locks. Certain types of outdated fuses and aluminum wiring are known for fire hazards, notably the removal of any Federal Pacific stab lock panels. These panels are known to be defective, resulting in fires. Stab locks are the most critical electrical loss recommendation that we see and usually come with a strict deadline, typically 30 days to replace. Hire a licensed and insured electrician to replace them as needed. You can provide the electrician with the recommendation letter from your insurance carrier, and they will make the appropriate upgrades. The solution: photo proof that the electric has been updated, as well as copies of paid invoices to the electrician, will satisfy the recommendation. Stab lock panels are circuit breakers that were sold by Federal Pacific Electric between the 1950s and 1990s and have been long known to be problematic. If your building contains them, it's going to be a lot more difficult and costly to obtain insurance in the future, as insurance companies no longer want the panels evaluated by an electrician. They want them replaced altogether. This can be said for most loss recs, but stab locks will 100% be on every loss rec report and listed as critical regardless of the carrier. Exit signs and emergency lights. In an emergency, such as a fire or power failure, the visibility within a building can be significantly reduced due to smoke and/or darkness. Emergency lights and exit signs provide a clear, illuminated path to safety for residents. They are equipped with backup batteries or generators to function during power outages and will automatically activate, providing enough light to safely exit the building. The solution. Illuminated exit signs and emergency lighting can be purchased at most online retailers and are typically easy to install. Photo proof that they have been installed and are working properly will satisfy the recommendation. Fire extinguishers. Outdated fire extinguishers will be a main item added to any carrier's loss requirement list. During the inspection, the inspector will check to confirm all fire extinguishers have been properly serviced and mounted. Canisters cannot sit on the ground even if they have been properly serviced. Some carriers are stricter than others with where the exact placement of the fire extinguisher should be, but all carriers require the canisters to be mounted in every hallway and common area. The solution. You will need to hire a fire inspection company of your choosing to come to inspect and tag each canister on the property. A photo of the newly updated tags that are placed on the canisters after the inspection will need to be sent to the carrier as proof of compliance. Graffiti removal. Insurance carriers feel graffiti is a sign of urban decay and that it makes your building a target for additional vandalism. The building must remain vigilant against any trespassing or vandalization of the property. If your association has been vandalized with graffiti, carriers will want it removed as soon as possible. The solution. Most graffiti can be removed with a power washer or sandblaster. If that does not work, you may have to paint over it or hire professionals to deal with it. Photo proof that the graffiti was removed will satisfy the recommendation. Removal of items in common areas. Items stored in common areas need to be removed to prevent fire hazards, trip and fall claims, and other life safety issues. Additionally, many stored items like boxes, furniture, or other flammable materials can fuel a fire, increasing the risk of spreading rapidly. Carriers want to make sure that common areas are kept completely clear in case of an emergency. The solution. Anything found in hallways, stairwells, or on fire escapes will need to be removed completely. Items on the roof used for leisurely activities can remain, but will need to be chained or secured down to prevent movement during high wind. This can include tables, chairs, potted plants, and any loose items the inspector deems a hazard. Photo proof that the items have been removed or secured on the roof will satisfy the recommendation. Smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Every building should have working smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in place to prevent loss of life and fire damage. Remember to replace batteries as the units require and run tests. Ensure that all units are properly equipped and that all residents know the association's rules and regulations. The solution. Detectors can be purchased cheaply at most online retailers and are easy to install. Photo proof that the detectors have been installed will satisfy the recommendation. Service inspections, specifically for sprinklers, boilers, and elevators. It's imperative to stay on top of all of the building's service inspections. These systems not functioning properly can lead to everything from unhappy residents to major safety issues. We've often seen that these inspections have been completed but are not properly posted where the inspector can see them. Even if you pass inspection, if the inspector documents any current defects in the systems, the carrier will require any defects to be repaired before they mark their file complete. The solution. Keep all building system inspections up to date. Post proof of inspections near the corresponding systems. If the recommendation is issued to your association, provide the most recent copy of the inspection report to satisfy it. Sprinkler valve locks. Sprinkler valve locks are safety devices used to secure the valves controlling the water flow to a building's fire sprinkler system. These locks are crucial for preventing unauthorized tampering with the sprinkler system and ensuring it remains operational when needed in the event of a fire. Without a lock, someone could inadvertently or intentionally shut off the water supply to the sprinklers, rendering the fire suppression system useless during a fire. Sprinkler valve locks help to deter unauthorized individuals from interfering with the system. The solution. Sprinkler valve locks can cost as little as $20 from online retailers. Photo proof that the lock has been installed will satisfy the recommendation. The valve must be locked in the on position. Stair railings and treads. Railings prevent falls on stairs and favorably affect liability in claim situations. All stairs throughout the association should be equipped with railings, whether or not residents have access to them. For example, stairs leading to the roof, basement, or storage area. The solution. Railings can be purchased at most hardware stores and online retailers. Depending on the size of the project, railings can be fairly easy to install, or you can hire a licensed and insured contractor to do so. Photo proof that the railings have been installed will satisfy the recommendation. All interior stairs throughout the association should be equipped with treads. Treads help prevent slip and falls on slick or wet stair surfaces that residents use every day. The solution. Treads can be purchased from online or hardware retailers, and photo proof of the installation will satisfy the recommendation. Why comply? What if you choose not to comply with your loss recommendations or they are not completed by the carrier's due date? The current carrier will send you or your broker a notice of cancellation due to non-compliance. This may not be at your policy's expiration. This can be midterm, as the carrier will not stay on the risk without compliance of the loss recommendations. Your broker is now going to go out to market to avoid a lapse in coverage. The last thing your broker ever wants is a lapse in coverage. We have to find you another carrier. The carriers that we believe would be a good fit will ask why is coverage being non-renewed or canceled midterm. We must provide the reason the prior carrier is getting off the risk, and when the new carrier hears it's due to non-compliance of loss recommendation, it brings up a lot of red flags. The new carrier will most likely agree with the recommendations that the prior carrier required. Then we're right back where we started. Everyone needs to understand that an insurance policy is a written contract between the insured and insurer. By putting coverage in place with your carrier, you're agreeing to their terms and conditions, and non-compliance of any kind is breaking the contract. Non-compliance can alarm a new party getting involved and limit our market options even further. After all, the carriers feel the loss recommendations will only help eliminate the risk of exposure and make the building a more efficient and safer place. What if there isn't a competitive option right now? What if by delaying the completion of your loss recommendations, you've lost the premium you were paying? It is highly likely that you will end up paying more with a different carrier. The new carrier may have more and different recommendations of their own. It is very possible the new carrier's inspection will generate more recommendations and or require the prior recommendations be complied with as well. Let's say the new carrier is still interested and provides a quote. This time the premium is higher and there will most likely be an even shorter period of time to get them done, possibly new and old recommendations that need to be complied with. In conclusion, sometimes the loss recommendations carriers want can feel like a stretch, or they may be difficult to work on due to extenuating circumstances like weather or ongoing projects interfering. However, avoiding the recommendations will end up costing you more. We have seen, especially recently, the urgency the carriers have placed on handling these loss recs. A year ago, the carrier might have accepted the cement work or roof can't be done in the cold winter months, but we are now seeing less leniency, especially if the loss recs were issued much earlier in the year. The winter months are no longer an excuse to push loss recs to the following spring. Insurance carriers are trying to reduce the liability exposure both for property and themselves. It can only help make your property or community association as safe as possible. A lawsuit over a trip and fall would be much more costly than fixing the curb. Your best bet is to be honest with your broker about the timeline or issues, start looking into recommendations immediately, and provide as much documentation and detail as possible. The more we provide to the carrier on the compliance status, the more flexible they can be. In most cases, if we can provide timely updates, send any supporting documentation or conversations with the contractors, and provide an estimated start end date, the carrier will work with you. The carriers want confirmation that active steps are being taken, and even if the work has not been completed yet, sending updates will go a long way. Keeping your association in good shape is the best way to avoid facing future issues that you'll have to deal with possibly. The better the shape of the building, the more attractive it will look to insurance carriers. Oh, sorry about that. Let me go back there. They want to see that you've taken pride in your property and are protecting your residents and doing your best to prevent claims from happening. Okay, so that concludes our webinar today. I'm going to check the Q&A to see if there are any questions. A copy of the presentation will be sent to everybody. Feel free to reach out and check our website for more information at mackoul.com. Let me see. There are no questions at this time. Thank you everyone for joining. Take care.